Right now on Hoosier News Source, IU students become eligible for the vaccine this week, and Greek homes are back on quarantine.
And I have why we are experiencing cooler temperatures this week, as well as your Easter weekend forecast. Hoosier News Source starts now.
Hello, and welcome to Hoosier News Source. I'm Sammy Nance. Before we start this week's COVID update, I'll hand it over to my socially distanced co-anchor, Elizabeth DeSantis. Elizabeth?
Thanks, Sammy. Simon Scott Assembly Hall is now open as a vaccination site, and students can now sign up for their COVID-19 vaccine. The opening follows Governor Holcomb's announcement last week that all adults ages 16 and older will be eligible to receive the vaccine. IU students can be vaccinated at any site in Indiana, but the Assembly Hall location is fully booked for first 3 weeks. The Pfizer vaccine offered at Assembly Hall requires 2 doses 3 weeks apart. Students could not schedule an appointment at Assembly Hall until March 31st. HNS reporter Andrew Lamparski joins us with the latest COVID-19 updates and how you can sign up for your vaccine. Andrew?
Thanks, Lizzie. It's a big campus COVID update this week as cases are going down and students can sign up for their vaccine. We saw an increase to over 23,000 tests last week, the highest in a month. And the mitigation testing positivity rate down to 0.37%, still one of the highest rates of the semester, but down from last week. On-campus quarantine housing usage is also down from 7.6% to just 4.1%. And as Lizzie said, those 16 and older are now eligible to sign up for their vaccine. That means students can come to places like Assembly Hall to get their shot. Here's how. First, you need to log on to ourshot.in.gov. Then you can select Register for a Vaccine Appointment, put in your zip code, and find a location. Then all you need to do is select a time, put in your personal information, and you can confirm your appointment. And that's all for this week's Campus COVID Update. For Hoosier News Source, I'm Andrew Lamparski.
Thanks, Andrew. Now that people are able to sign up for vaccines, they should know which one they'll be receiving. The Pfizer vaccine is administered at the Simon Scott Assembly Hall vaccine site. There is a 21-day waiting period between doses of the Pfizer vaccine. Monroe County Health Administrator Penny Caudill said the county will also receive some doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine for use in some of its outreach programs. IU and the Monroe County Health Department listed 2 IU sororities on full house quarantine. The health department puts IU Greek homes on quarantine if 5% of their residents test positive or 30% of a home's quarantine rooms are in use. Currently, Alpha Zeta Delta and Kappa Alpha Theta are on full house quarantine. The period lasts 10 days and restarts if a resident tests positive during that time. Last semester, over 30 Greek homes were on the list, and now IU is seeing a slow rise in cases on campus.
IUSG Election Day is just days away, and IUSCV News sat down with all 3 campaigns to hear about their plans for IU. Vision, Inspire, and Elevate will face off on Thursday and Friday in the annual IUSG Executive Branch election. The election will determine the student body president and vice president for the upcoming school year. Students will receive an email on Thursday with a link to the ballot, and voting ends on Friday. To watch full-length interviews with each campaign, head over to IUSCV News on Instagram or Facebook. Caroline Klare has the latest on this week's sunny forecast. Caroline?
Thanks, Elizabeth. Although the sun may be out most of the week, the next few days will be quite cold. And guys, I just wanted to do a quick explanation of why this is. So I have here is our jet stream, and what the jet stream is our fastest winds in the atmosphere. These are usually quite high off the ground, about where planes fly, and basically this has a huge impact on our climate. And as you can see here, this jet stream really dipping into the U.S. over the next few days, really going to bring some of that Arctic cold air into our area here over the next few days, and a little bit warmer on the west coast over there. But thankfully, these cold temperatures won't be sticking around for our Easter Sunday. So if we go ahead and take a look at Sunday, 8 a.m. 45, starting a little bit chilly, but as you can see, it's going to clear out and be quite a beautiful day. 62 at noon and even reaching the 70s as we finish off our weekend here. Now let's take a look at how our week is expected to pan out. So after some showers on Wednesday, some rising temperatures as we go finish through the weekend, and as we start next week, some increasing clouds and maybe even some rain on Tuesday, but overall quite a beautiful weekend. But however, might get some pretty low temperatures in the evening hours, so if you are out at night, make sure to grab a jacket. Make sure to get outside and enjoy this sunny week. Elizabeth, back to you.
Thanks, Caroline. Coming up on Hoosier News Source, Provost Lauren Robel is stepping down. Plus, we hear about the new IU men's basketball coach. Stay with us. Welcome back to Hoosier News Source. HNS reporter Ella Rhodes is now with us and has an update on international news and what's going on around the world. Ella?
Thanks, Elizabeth. We start with the latest on COVID-19. The World Health Organization and Chinese scientists conducted a study last month to find the origin of the coronavirus. The 123-page report, which was just released, says it's extremely unlikely the virus started in a lab. Researchers concluded that the transmission of the virus likely stemmed from bats to humans through another animal. The report concludes it may take years to find the exact source which started the virus. And continuing with COVID, Brazil is seeing a surge in COVID cases and deaths as a highly contagious variant continues to spread there. Over 300,000 people in Brazil have died from the virus. In almost every hour, around 125 people die from COVID complications there. Hospitals are struggling to keep up with the number of intensive care units and PPE needed. Brazil's President Jair Bolsonaro has downplayed the virus since March 2020. Over in the Middle East, a large container ship was stuck in the Suez Canal for 6 days. Almost a week after the ship Ever Given got stuck, it finally was released. The full moon and wind helped machinery move Ever Given. The ship is as long as the Empire State Building stands tall. Ever Given was blocking a main thoroughfare for global trade, and it's estimated that it blocked almost $10 billion worth of trade each day. That's what's going on around the world. Sammy, Elizabeth, back to you.
Thanks, Ella. After 8 years, IU's Provost Lauren Robel is stepping down from her executive role. Robel initially planned to step down at the end of the 2020 school year, but because of the pandemic, she decided to stay another year. With IU President McRobbie also leaving at the end of this academic year, the process is complicated. An interim provost will be chosen by McRobbie by the end of next week, but ultimately, the new president will have the power to choose the school's next provost.
The next leader certainly will be somebody that will step into those big shoes that Lauren Robel leaves behind and try to carry on that tradition.
Robel's last day is June 30th. Follow us on social media for the latest updates on Robel's replacement.
A Bloomington Uber driver was charged with sexual battery on March 18th. The female passenger said that the driver, 49-year-old Diego Pera Castillo, touched her inappropriately, kissed her, and took an hour to drive her 4 miles home to her dorm. She asked multiple times to leave, but Pera Castillo refused. The woman reported him to her RA when she arrived at her dorm in North Jordan. Pera Castillo was taken to Marion County Jail, where he faces felony charges of sexual battery and criminal confinement.
Jackson Kinney joins us with the latest on IU sports. Jackson?
Thanks, Sammy. It has been quite the week for the women and men who call Assembly Hall home. Starting with the women's squad, their tournament run came to an end last night against number 3 seed Arizona. The two big stories were Arizona's Ari McDonald and the poor shooting of the Hoosiers. Ari McDonald took the game over and scored 33 points, half of Arizona's total 66. And the Hoosiers were hamstrung by poor shooting all night. From the floor, the Hoosiers had a field goal percentage of 36%, and they laid a goose egg from behind the arc, going 0 for 9 from 3. In the end, those two factors led to the end of a historic season for Terry Morin's squad. This was the team's first ever appearance in the Elite Eight, and they look to build off this momentum for next season with stars like Mackenzie Holmes, Alexa Golbe, and Grace Berger all slated to return next year. And moving on to the men's team, it feels like not too long ago I was standing here telling you about the firing of former head coach Archie Miller and wondering who was to replace him. Well, now we have an answer in the form of IU alum Mike Woodson. Woodson has been named the 30th coach in the program's history. His resume includes being head coach of the NBA's Atlanta Hawks and the New York Knicks, as well as a myriad of assistant coaching positions held in the NBA as well. Coaching the Hoosiers will be his first college coaching experience, but according to Woodson himself, basketball is basketball. Coach Woodson has already gotten down to work talking to the Hoosiers who entered the transfer portal at the news of Archie Miller's firing. And as always, for the most in-depth coverage of all of Indiana athletics, make sure you tune into IUS TV's own Hoosier Sports Night every Friday. Sammy, back to you.
Thanks, Jackson, and thank you for watching this week's episode of Hoosier News Source. To learn more about this week's stories, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at IUS TV News. I'm Sammy Nance.
And I'm Elizabeth DeSantis. From Bloomington, Indiana, we'll see you next time.